Hello internet, hello and welcome to today's video. I want to talk about some things, well, assisted suicide and suicide in general. Because I watched a documentary and I also read a very interesting website. So I guess welcome to another installment of Baumi and philosophy. If you're new to the channel, I tend to do this every I don't know. There's really no time spent for that. I just do them whenever there's something in my head that I just really feel like talking about. And well, today is one of those days. I'm gonna start off by explaining how all of this came to be and why I'm creating this video today. There's this documentary by an author called Terry Pratchett. If you don't know what he wrote the Discworld books. And they are absolutely fantastic. If you have not read the Discworld books, please do yourself a favor and do so. If you love The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, they're very similar to that, just in a different setting. And in general, if you like humor, if you like fun, the Discworld books are a pretty good way to go about it. He's also just a generally very respectable human being. Like, you can read his Wikipedia article. He has done good. He's done good. Honestly, he is an asset to humanity. And he created this documentary. And the reason why he created this documentary is because he himself started having symptoms of Alzheimer's. Now, Alzheimer's is very serious, very, very serious. My grandmother actually got Alzheimer's, and it's weird because she literally doesn't remember anything. Like, she doesn't know who we are, she doesn't know who anybody is. The only one she can remember is my granddad. And that's just because, well, they are so used to fighting with each other that I don't think she will ever forget about him. But the thing with Alzheimer's is that it slowly eats away at you, and eventually it will just leave you with nothing, with absolutely nothing. You will be nothing more than a shell of what you once were, and it's really awful. Really awful. Now, the question Terry Pratchett poses is it better to die instead of going through that? And that's the theme of his documentary, Choosing to Die. I linked it down in the description in case you're curious. I can definitely recommend watching it, but let me warn you, it's heavy. It's very heavy. Because at the end of it, you genuinely see a human die. He just dies. Now, this documentary is all about people that are terminally ill or really old and got sick because of that, and have gotten to a point where they believe that their life will no longer become better and have decided that they want to die. Now, the problem with that is just that assisted suicide is not illegal in a lot of countries. But there are some where it is in fact legal, and that's very interesting because saying that assisted suicide should be legal or should not be legal is not an easy question to answer. It's really not. The problem simply arises when you ask, do you want to live in a country where everybody could just walk up to somebody and be like, I don't want to live anymore, kill me. And then they are allowed to kill that person. Even if we restrict that to just doctors, I still don't like that idea, because that would be a decision that could be made on a whim, and is something that is not reversible. If that person actually chooses to die in that scenario, then they are done for. Then that's the end of it. You cannot revert that mistake. But then again, we could just say that it's only a law. But then again, we could just restrict it to people that are actually terminally ill, right? There's this one case, I remember this very clearly because I just thought it to be so crazy, but it was in the UK. And there was a man that was very sick. And he was sick to a degree that he had constant pain, he couldn't move, and he was basically living a life chained to tubes because that was the only way to feed him. And he didn't want to continue on with that life, and I think that's very much understandable because he couldn't do anything and it just didn't get any better. There was no way for that to get better. It would just get worse and worse. His sickness would get worse and worse. His pain would get worse and worse. Eventually he would just, I don't know, he would die after a long life of just torture and misery. But in the UK, assisted suicide is not allowed. But this man couldn't kill himself. He didn't have the option of doing that because it was physically not possible for him to kill himself. But nobody else could kill him either, because if they did so, they would be tried for some degree of murder. And of course, it would be awful too. He didn't want that. So what he chose to do, and I just think this is absolutely ridiculous that he needed to do this, but he chose to starve himself to death. He just stopped eating until he died. That's ridiculous. That shouldn't have happened. That shouldn't have happened. I believe that that man should have been allowed to kill himself. And since he couldn't do it himself, somebody should have been allowed to help him out, because he didn't want to continue on with his life. And I think that's very much reasonable, because it couldn't get any better. Now, let's talk about suicide in general, because I think it's interesting. I think it's something that needs to be talked about. It's not a nice topic, right? It's not a fun topic, but it's something that needs to be talked about. And I often hear this, that you shouldn't kill yourself because life is a gift and you should cherish that gift. That's bullshit. That's just bullshit. Life is not a gift. Life is not a gift. You can refuse a gift. A gift is something you can choose to accept or not. You are not forced to accept a gift. If somebody would give me something, try to gift me something, I'm like, no dude, I don't want that. I'm really sorry, I know this is a dick move, but please keep it, I don't want it. I do not have that option with life, I do not. I am forced into life, I am forced into existence, and that's just the way it is. So I honestly believe that the most fundamental right of any living being on this planet and on any planet is to kill themselves. But that doesn't mean they should. That doesn't mean they should. And the most basic argument I can give you for that is simple. It's gonna get better. It's gonna get better. No matter how shitty your life looks, it's gonna get better. At least for most of us. At least for most of us. That's my most fundamental argument against suicide. No matter what you do, no matter how awful it's looking right now, it's gonna get better. It's gonna get better. Believe me, trust me, it's gonna get better. Except if you're terminally ill or something along these lines. But we're gonna get to that later, right? Now, another argument I often hear is, it's selfish to kill yourself. I think that's bullshit too. I really do. Because if you're saying that you should be taking care of everybody else, and if you kill yourself, you're not taking care of everybody else, and that's selfish, I honestly think that that line of reasoning is selfish. I don't think the person killing themselves is selfish. Simply because that, well, the other people, they want him to stay around. They want, or her, they want that person to stay around in life and continue on with something that makes them miserable, and continue on with something they don't want to continue on with for their own benefit, for their own purposes, for their safety, for their sake. That's selfish. Killing yourself cannot be selfish. That's not possible, at least in my opinion. And let's just get this out there, right? This is all just my opinion. You may agree, you may not agree. It often comes down to religious beliefs as well. I personally believe that the only reason why religions exist in the first place is that people are looking for something that comes after life. Because for all that we know, it's just over, right? We die and it's over. That's it. That's it. It's just over. It's just over. You're gone. Forever. So far. At least that's all we know, right? We have no proof for anything else. For nothing. And that's where religions come in. Because all religions share one thing. They all have got a theory about what comes after life. And all of those theories are a fundamental part of that religion. Humanity is scared of death. Every conscious being is scared of death. Because we don't know what comes afterwards. We don't. But that's also why I found this documentary to be so fascinating. Because there are people out there that even though they've got this natural instinct of being scared of death, because, well, it's just how life works. We are all scared of death. We all don't want to die. These people still chose to die. The ending of that documentary is one of the most surreal things I have ever seen in my life. And that's simply because I saw a man Be completely calm. Completely calm. Show no emotions whatsoever. Just be completely calm, completely collected, completely decisive about drinking a glass of poison that he knows is going to kill him. And then he just died. And this leads me to the website I was talking about at the beginning of the video. Now, this is also linked down in the description, though it's very unlikely that the website is actually live, because the traffic it's been getting is absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely crazy. But the website is basically about a man that is 60 years old, or was 60 years old, and killed himself on his 60th birthday. Now, that in of itself is not interesting enough for thousands and thousands of people to come check out this website. But instead, what is interesting about it is that on this website, everything is documented. Everything. This guy documented his entire life and his entire reasoning as to why he killed himself, as to how he killed himself, and everything, just absolutely everything about him is on this website. It's crazy. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely incredible. Reading this is a lifetime worth of experience in here. It's crazy. And he said it himself that he wants this to be the single most well documented and most well reasoned suicide ever. And I think so far he has done a good job of doing exactly that. It's crazy. So let me quote something that I thought to be very interesting. One said of suicide, "As long as one has brains, one should not blow them out." And another answered, "But when one has keys to have them, too often one cannot." And that to me is what is so fascinating about this suicide and about the suicide in choosing to die. Both people choose to die because they know that their life is not going to get better and that their best days are past them, and from this point on it's just gonna go downhill. So they decide to end it all. I just thought this whole thing was so fascinating, incredibly fascinating, because to me it was almost like a new facet of life. Because I always thought, yeah, it's gonna get better, but there are some people, mostly old people, for which it's not gonna get better. It's over. Should you just kill yourself at that point? I don't know. That's a really difficult question to answer. I myself, I probably would be too much of a coward to do it. I probably would be, because like I am scared of what's gonna come. Probably nothing. And if there's nothing, then hell yeah, I'm gonna live this one. I'm gonna live this one for as long as I can. But I don't know. I just thought this was crazy fascinating. In general, I believe that assisted suicide should be a thing. I think so. But it needs to be heavily restricted. I think it should only be allowed for people that are at least of a certain age or have some kind of terminal illness that's like seriously, like you hear about it and you're like, okay, I get that. It sucks, but I get it. I don't know. I just really wanted to talk about it. I don't know. So, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to leave a rating on the video. And see you tomorrow. Bye.